everyone, welcome to Taking Care of You with Mrs. Magoo. I'm Mrs. Magoo. We have a special episode for you today. We are going to be talking about some free services that our fire department offers our senior community. Free, don't you just love that word? My special guest is Lieutenant Kendall Buell. He is with the Ipswich Fire Department and he is going to be filling us in on all these services. So let's head right on down to the firehouse and see what Kendall has to tell us. Come on, let's go. I'm here with Lieutenant Kendall Buell. He's with the Ipswich Fire Department, and today he's going to be telling us about some services that they offer our senior community. Kendall, great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking about three things: lock boxes, smoke detectors, and file of life. So why don't we start off with the lock boxes. What are they and why should people have one?
Well, first of all, Katie, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to let our seniors know all these great services that are available for them free of charge to help them be better prepared in the event of an emergency. Now these lock boxes, I've brought one with me right here so people can get a good look at it. These are of enormous help in the case of a medical emergency, particularly if somebody has mobility issues or due to the seriousness of their emergency, they can't get to the door to let us in. What these are boxes for people's house keys that the fire department will install outside their door, and that can only be opened by a fire department key, which itself is locked away on our fire engines. And this is for anybody who might have mobility issues or might be in danger of having a medical emergency where they might not be able to let responding emergency crews in through the door. So when we show up at a medical emergency, quick access obviously is very important. If someone can't let us in and we need to get in, we'll end up forcing entry if we have to. If they have a lockbox, though, we don't need to do that. We just open it up, we get the house key, we get quick access to the house, and most importantly, to the patient.
That's very convenient, these lock boxes. That way, the fire department doesn't have to take a hatchet to your front door. It saves on money and cleanup.
We don't. We usually don't chop doors down, but there are other ways that we get in, and often they will include breaking something, which we would much prefer not to have to do. And also, we want to get to the patient as quickly as possible. That's while we're there. So, these are an invaluable tool for us, and we're very grateful for the Council on Aging getting the word around to the Ipswich's senior community that this is a service that we can provide to them.
With these lock boxes, I just want to tell people who might not be able to see, they're about the size of a deck of cards. I mean, at first when I heard about lock boxes, I thought they were these big, obtrusive things. I must have had mailbox in my mind. But when you installed one outside my front door, I went out looking for it afterwards, and I'm feeling around. I'm like, where's this big box? And I stumbled upon this very small, subtle thing, but you figure, how much space do you need to put one little key in? So really, they're very, very small.
Yeah, they're very discreet. As you can see, they're not eyesores or anything like that. And also, we can, we work with the homeowner to agree on a place where it's both easily accessible for us and easily noticeable, but perhaps not so conspicuous at their door.
What about apartments and condos? How do you use them in those types of buildings?
That really depends on the apartment building itself, on the condominium itself. Some of the local condos, we do install them. Other times the condo association does not allow that. When it comes to apartments, very often a superintendent will have keys to all the units. Sometimes they don't, and that's when these are very, very handy.
So if you're interested in getting a lockbox, you can call your local senior center here in Ipswich. The number for our senior center is 978-356 6650, and you just tell them you'd like to sign up to get a lockbox. Now, the one thing to remember is before you call them to get the lockbox, make sure you have a spare key all ready to go. So when Kendall comes out, you're not running through your house trying to find a spare key. Have it all set and ready.
Yeah, we'll make sure that they do before we come on out.
You do? Okay. Yeah. Okay, why don't we move on to smoke alarms?
Well, obviously, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are absolutely essential. Unfortunately, most of them still have either batteries or even hardwired detectors have backup batteries that need to be changed, and we all know when those batteries get old, the detector knows you, and you have that chirping
right.
that always seems to start at 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, we recommend that folks change their batteries twice a year. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've heard before, when you change your clock, either at the beginning or end of daylight savings time, you should change the batteries in your detector. So one of the services that we offer for seniors here in town, Katie, is we will come and we will change the batteries in your detector. And while we're at it, we will check the dates. Smoke detectors have a 10-year lifespan. Carbon monoxide detectors can go as long as 10 years, but we find that they tend to fail sooner. So we'll check it. We'll inspect and test every detector in someone's house or apartment, just to make sure that should anything ever happen, you are going to have a quick alert to either a smoke condition or carbon monoxide condition in your home. So often, if I'm going into a home, I'll check out what sort of protection they have. And often if they don't have a smoke detector in the bedroom, for instance, I'll recommend one, and I'll offer to install it myself. So thanks to grants from the State Department of Fire Services, and thanks to our partnership with the Council on Aging, we actually have quite a few smoke detectors, and these specifically are combination smoke and carbon monoxide detectors that we will come and install in the home. And these are really nice because these have the sealed 10-year batteries. So once you get these in, you're no longer worrying about changing the batteries twice a year, and you're no longer worrying about that chirping noise in the middle of the night.
So do people buy the smoke detectors from you, or?
Again, thanks to the grant from the DFS, we have a lot of these on hand, and we certainly don't want money to be an issue, particularly when you're talking about a lot of folks who are on fixed incomes.
Sure.
So we will come and we will provide the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. You know, I have found very often there are homeowners who say, hey, listen, I'm doing fine. I appreciate your help here. They want to make a donation. In which case, that money I take on over to the COA. Mm-hmm. It's put in what's called the Triad Fund. The Triad is a partnership among the fire department, the police department, and the Council on Aging, just for the safety and the protection of our community's seniors.
Okay. So if someone can't afford one, then you have one for them.
We absolutely do.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I had Kendall come out to my house to check my smoke alarms, and 1 out of 4 was functional. I ended up
I'm so glad I came out to your house. I'm going to rest so much easier when I can come out there again and see that you followed all of my recommendations, Katie.
Well, we ended up taking 2 of them down because they kept going off, and it was so annoying. And the funny thing is, the only time they went off was when I was cooking. Go figure. So so Kendall recommended a few of them for me, so I will get them, and then he will come back out and install them for me.
And I'm absolutely happy to do that. And thank you. If you don't mind, if I can just say to folks out there right now, please, no matter how annoying that chirping smoke detector gets, do not unplug it. Do not take the batteries out. We see this so often where people will do that, and they could very well be saying to themselves, I'm going to take care of this first thing in the morning. But then a couple days go, then a couple weeks go, and months go, and it just becomes that detector with the battery compartment hanging over just becomes part of the scenery, and you don't even notice that. And I remember that was something you and your husband said to me when I came on over to your house, that it just hadn't occurred to you that these detectors had become expired, that they might no longer be working. So it's really, really valuable to have us on over there to be a fresh set of eyes, to look at things from a professional standpoint, and be able to tell you what you need for protection in your home.
Now, is there some way that when they do go off, when there's smoke in the house, like I said, whenever I cook, is there a button you can press just to stop them from going off, and there's not a fire?
Absolutely. You'll see there is a hush button on there, so you can turn them off.
Okay, but I think my problem is I probably just couldn't reach it without a ladder.
But you make an important distinction there, Katie. You're talking about a time when you're cooking. You've created some smoke, and that's set off the detector. There are times that people they'll have a detector go off, and they can't see what might have set that off, so they automatically assume that it is a malfunction. And the fact is, these detectors, photoelectric detectors, which are now code in Massachusetts, are very good for smoldering fires. There could be things going on behind your walls, for instance, with electrical outlets, which maybe you could smell, or maybe you couldn't smell, but the detector has nonetheless picked up. If a detector goes off, call 911. People are always saying, I'm sorry, we didn't want to bother you when we didn't think that there was anything going on. It's what we're there for. And wouldn't you much rather have us tell you that you have nothing to worry about?
So if your detector's going off and you can't figure out why, you don't see
Call 911.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I never would think to do that. Like I said, I'd be like, I don't want to bother them. What if they come out and there's nothing wrong?
We're not going to beat you. We're not going to make fun of you. We're not going to berate you. All right. Again, it is what we do.
Yeah. It was funny because I also wanted to mention too, when you came out to the house and I only had one smoke detector that worked, you didn't criticize me, you didn't yell at me. So when you go to people's houses, you don't judge.
We do not judge. Yeah, and really, one of the most embarrassing things to ever happen to me in the time that I've been on the fire department was having my own guys have to come on over and see my basement when we had a bit of a furnace problem creating some smoke. Hey, listen, we all have the messy basement or the messy house or the dead detector. We totally get that. And no, we go to a lot of these calls. People are always apologizing for getting us out of the station, getting us out of bed. But it is what we signed up to do, and we would much rather that people called us for false alarms than have a real problem in their house and not call us until it's become a very big problem.
Okay. That's very, very good information. Like I said, I wouldn't think to do that if I couldn't find why it was going off. So remember, call 911 if it goes off and you cannot figure out where the problem is. Now, when you were talking about, you suggested some new smoke detectors for me. You had mentioned Bluetooth. So what's the deal with the Bluetooth and the smoke detectors?
Well, Bluetooth connection between detectors is the new technology. Now, if you have new construction, or if you were to do a major renovation on an older house right now, and you were required to get up to current code, all of your detectors have to be connected to each other, and this used to be through wiring that went out, went through the house. And as you can imagine, if you were going to do that upgrade, it would be very, very expensive as far as your bill for the electrician. And the electricians I know don't necessarily want to start poking the holes and threading the wires all over the place to connect all of these detectors. So the Bluetooth technology will detect them we'll link them rather through Bluetooth. Now these detectors still need to be hardwired into a power source, but that is a much easier task for electricians than to run wires between the detectors themselves. And why is this important? Well, let's say you're a heavy sleeper. And you're up on the second, even the third floor of your house, asleep in your bedroom, and there is a problem down in the basement, whether it be fire, whether it be a carbon monoxide problem, that triggers the detector down in the basement. Well, there's the very real possibility that you could have a detector sounding away in your basement and you sleep right through it. When you have the interconnectivity, and that's why it's part of the code right now, it's so important, you have a detector going off in your basement, it tells the detector that is right outside your bedroom, or in some instances, even in your bedroom, and that is going to wake you up and alert you to a problem that you need to address immediately.
Oh, that's great. And here again, if you want to have a smoke detector check, you could just go to your local senior center, and they will sign you up to have Kendall come out. And if you want to get the lockbox and the smoke detector, he can do them both at the same time. Okay, so why don't we move on to the file of life? Now, what is that, and why should people have one?
Sure. Well, we were talking about medical emergencies, which are a very large part of the modern fire department's job, is responding to medical emergencies. And when we respond, no matter what sort of emergency someone's having, whether it be something small and relatively manageable, like a diabetes patient whose blood sugar is out of whack, to someone having a major cardiac issue, there are a lot of things that we need to know when we show up. What is their medical history? What medications are they on? What allergies might they suffer from? And this is information that can take a while to get through an interview, and particularly if we have a patient who is in dire need and perhaps can't answer these questions.
Oh, right, sure.
There's another way to get that information, and it is this file on life. If I can show this envelope here, this plastic envelope that they come in, these are magnetic strips here.
Oh.
And these allow us to attach these to refrigerators, right there with the pictures that the grandkids did and everything else. And inside is this file right here. And this has all the information that we were talking about. The patient's medical history, the medications that they're on, any allergies that they have. It has information on recent surgery, medical insurance, and who to contact in the case of an emergency. So this is all the vital information that we need in a glance. And when we go to a senior's home for a medical emergency, we go straight to that refrigerator, and we are looking for this to try to get that information just as quickly and as accurately as possible. So this is something else I'm really glad I get a chance to come here and to talk about, because it would be great if we could see one of these on everybody's refrigerator. It really helps
makes
us
things so much easier.
It really helps us do our job to the best of our abilities. And another one we have, and I don't know if you've
Well, first of all, before you move on,
yeah,
with this,
sure.
so do you just give this this form to people and they fill it out themselves? Is that how it works?
Yeah,
Or-
they do. I offer to help fill it out if need be, but very often they can do it themselves, or they have a home health aide or a family member who is already apprised of their situation and who has all the information they need to accurately fill this out.
Okay.
And we have something that is, it's basically the identical sort of thing, although it looks a little bit different. Right here, this folder also has all of that critical information, but these go in an envelope into the glove compartment of your vehicle.
Oh,
so if you
that's
ever
great,
suffer
yeah.
a medical emergency while you're out on the road or in a parking lot or something, it can be found there, and it is accompanied by this yellow sticker here, which goes on the windshield of the car. So responding emergency crews will see this and they will know to look for this.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, people, they could fill out, if someone was helping them fill out this form, they could do both of these at once and just throw one in the car and throw one up on the refrigerator.
Absolutely. So whether you are at home or you are out and about, you are traveling or you are at home with that crucial information that emergency crews need to minister to you to get you the first aid that you need.
So we're talking about these services in Ipswich, Massachusetts, but if someone lives in another state,
Our most vulnerable population is our seniors. So I think you're going to find in just about any community these outreach programs, although everyone will do it perhaps a little bit differently. But any department is going to be willing to send somebody out and to help you if you have any questions, if you have any special needs, so that you're prepared for the events of an emergency.
Yep. So if you live in another town in Massachusetts or in another state, check with your local fire department or your local senior center to see if they offer these types of services. Now, once again, the phone number for the Ipswich Senior Center here in Massachusetts is 978-356-6650. So we have a few minutes left, Kendall. Can you share with us the most memorable fire that you ever fought? I know you had to pick one.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I've been on a total of 20 years as of this year.
You have a lot of good stories.
Between call firefighting and I've been a career firefighter here in Ipswich for 8 years. A lot of great stories, not as much as some of the people who have been around a lot longer than that, because fortunately we have fewer and fewer house fires, and that is largely due to prevention, to education, to important changes in building codes and so forth. But
that's a good thing.
But there have been one or two memorable ones. I think for me, the most memorable might be one that is memorable to a lot of folks. And that was back in the spring of 2005. So, wow, 16 years ago already. We had a lot of flooding at that time. And as a matter of fact, the Choate Bridge was closed for a while due to some massive flooding. So wouldn't you know, we actually had a fire right there on South Main, right off of the Choate Bridge, which created some logistical trouble, as you can imagine, with the bridge being closed. But it was also a very difficult fire, given the fact that there were residences on the second and third floor. On the first floor was a bridal gown shop. And you want to talk about a fire load, the potential fuel that can burn in a fire, it was quite heavy. So
because of the materials of all
yes.
the gowns? Okay.
And then you have the issue of the buildings being connected, and so you have a serious risk of fire spreading to other buildings. So that was a very difficult one for the department, very harrowing. That I think the department and the neighboring communities who responded did a fantastic job in limiting the damage to that fire. But especially at the beginning, it was touch and go. And I was part of a crew that got sent up to the second floor where there were some residences, and it was unsure whether everyone who had lived in those apartments had gotten out of there. So we were sent on to do a search of those apartments. So there were two on the second floor when we got up there, and another firefighter and I were quickly able to force entry into one apartment and do a quick sweep through it. We're doing this on our hands and knees because it's getting very hot, very smoky.
So the fire's still going on?
Oh yeah, the fire's going on below us at this time. And we go to the second door. There were only 2 units there at the top of the stairs on the second floor, and we were unable to force that door open easily. It was a steel door. At first, I actually thought it was wood because I felt it for heat from fire on the other side, and it felt like regular wood paneling. It was a steel door though, and it was giving us a bear of a time. It ended up being very fortunate, I think, looking back, that we weren't able to get in there. No one was in that apartment.
You tried your
at the
best,
time.
but you just couldn't get in.
Well, we were still trying when all of a sudden we got the order to evacuate from the chief outside. And when it's when you're a firefighter, it's good to know that you have people who are keeping a very close eye on conditions and are ready to get you out of there at the moment's notice when the conditions deteriorate, because they were rapidly deteriorating with all that fire going on below us. And the wheelmaker, the chief at the time, ordered us out of there. The next thing I know, and I'm wrestling with this door trying to force it open. The lieutenant I was with is literally grabbing me and pulling me and just giving me a heave-ho down the stairs. The other firefighter right behind me, and then the lieutenant right behind him. And as we were coming out of that building, it flashed over. The heat and the amount of particulates in the air and in the smoke, it just caught. And
what does that
suddenly,
mean? Everything just caught on fire?
Yeah, the whole environment just goes. And a matter of fact, this lieutenant, who was the last person out, they actually turned the hose on him as he came out of that door.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because he'd gotten caught right at the end of that. So yeah,
Wow.
if you want to talk about a memorable fire,
Yeah, I wouldn't forget that one.
No, it wasn't, and it's just an example of how important it is to have the kind of personnel that we have from the top on down. And how grateful I've always been just to have great lieutenants over me, and they've had some great leaders over them who are always looking out for you when you're on the fire ground.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a great story. Well, Kendall, thank you so much for that great information.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing that story, and most of all, thank you for your service. You guys are so dedicated, and you go through a lot that we don't even have a clue, but really, thank you for your service.
Well, I speak on behalf of the entire department when I say we're really grateful for the support that our community gives us, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, Katie, to come on here and again let our seniors know about these services that are open to them. I hope I get to see them soon.
And I'm very glad you were not able to force your way into that door, because if you did, you wouldn't be sitting here talking to me.
I don't know, but it's one of those things you think about sometimes. Life is funny that way.
It is. Yeah, it's hysterical. Thanks again, Kendall. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show and maybe learned something too. Please tell your grandparents, your parents, maybe an elderly neighbor about these services. That's the best way to get the information out there. Now, once again, if your smoke alarm goes off and you cannot see any smoke, you can't smell any smoke, there could be something simmering or smoldering in the walls of your house. So please, call 911. That is what they are there for. That's what they signed up for. And don't feel like you're going to be embarrassed if it turns out that there's nothing wrong. I would rather be alive and embarrassed rather than dead and not embarrassed. Now, if you live in another town in Massachusetts, or if you live in a different state, please check with your local fire department or your senior center. Chances are they probably provide services that are either equivalent or similar to the services that we were talking about today. All the fire departments are very protective of their elder community, so they always have money set aside to provide services like that for you. Well, thanks everybody for watching today. Please don't forget to take the time to take care of you. I will see you next time. Bye for now.